This is the Beige and the Bold, and today we are watching The Game. I'm Van Velding, and I was hijacked by this episode when it originally aired.
I'm Derek. This is my first time being hijacked by this episode.
You ready?
Yep.
And 3, 2, 1, engage. When I first watched this episode, I thought that it was like a clumsy, stupid drug analogy.
Really?
And I thought that for like years. This originally aired in 1991. And
oh, yeah.
And then I watched it later, and I'm like, oh, haha, it's about WoW. Hey, everybody, it's about WoW. Even though they couldn't have possibly known about World of Warcraft, making people addicted.
Right.
But then it turns out I read the script.
I mean, this definitely looked to me like video games, essentially old folks being scared that the new form of entertainment like young folks are using is going to lead to the downfall of society.
And you're right. That's why they wrote it.
Yeah, which it's weirdly prescient, and I'm going to touch on a few bits here. Once we get more of those. I do like this, though, where he's like, come on, I know we're all playing, but I really need that because reasons. And she like throws it out, and it's like, whoa, that is kind of a weird. But what's interesting is that's our first bit of foreshadowing. He doesn't care. Here she is topping him, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's not what that means, but
I mean, if you read the discourse, Riker's into that, but that's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that whole kind of brief moment of tension where she kind of throws out something important irreverently and then does like the, hey, let's switch gears a bit and do some Demolition Man sex. Yeah. And that's our first clue that like this might not be consensual. Like this might not be kind of what's on the tin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all foreplay for Riker, And
Riker's list of what counts as foreplay is ridiculously long.
It's whatever ends. You know what? So here anyway is like a little thing in a disc, and Jonathan Frakes was like, I was told there'd be really cool effects, but there weren't. And I'm like, well, you should have known. You should have known, Jonathan Frakes. Come on, it was the 90s.
Yeah, man. Come on. Dude.
So I just think it's insane, like you mentioned, that they're like, oh, these video games are like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which this episode is.
That's the weird part. And so we get a slice of everyone's kind of sex acting, essentially. Just a little taste of just how everyone kind of acts when they're pleasurable or pleasurable.
Yeah. And yeah. I just think that it's really weird. They went to a lot of trouble to remake this set from the episode where Picard went here. And even as a huge Star Trek nerd, I had no consciousness of that.
I didn't know that until you just pointed it out, for sure.
Yeah. I appreciate that they went to the effort, but it was wasted on me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. There is something a little weird about, like, before we cut into the intro, we see him playing the game and then reality behind it. So like this augmented reality sort of thing, which before augmented reality was even, if you count, Nintendo had like a game that was like all in red and it was somewhat augmented reality. I can't remember what it was called. There you go. Virtual Boy. Exactly. But you couldn't see beyond it. You could only kind of look through this visor that was all black. That's somewhat sinister as well, though. Like this notion of he's so introverted that he sees something in front, but he's distracted by both the game and the pleasure the game gives him.
Yeah.
This has, oddly is the wrong word, but it has somewhat, I don't know if it initially had this sinister tone when it launched, but it certainly seems to have a sinister tone now.
I mean, I think it was supposed to. I mean, it is.
Okay.
People are getting subverted by weird machines, what the boomers don't understand.
Right.
So.
The funny thing about all this kind of stuff is no one wants to do the typical thing you should do when you want to understand something, which is ask questions and listen. Like, that's it. If you're scared of something, just a little fun fact: ask a question about someone who's doing the thing you're scared of, and just listen to what they have to say. Like that's it. Don't fight them. Just listen.
One of the ideas behind this episode is how this hacks trust networks.
Yeah,
all of these people implicitly trust each other, and therefore they're susceptible to having this game passed around.
Right, and this is kind of like classic 101 hacking, where you exploit certain mechanisms in society, like social mechanisms, as a vehicle for spreading kind of your exploit, whatever it is. So like phishing was a lot like that. Was essentially like the modern version is someone calling you, telling you like, hey, you're locked out of your bank account. Give us your password and we can fix it all for you.
Yeah.
Which, sounds silly, but people fall for it. So.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about Riker trying to get Geordi to try the game. And maybe my biggest complaint with this episode, which is he's got no eyes. I mean, technically he's got eyes, but they aren't good for being a vector for control via a new organism lensless sunglasses thing. It's Geordi cannot see, and your weapon is designed around hacking people through their functioning human eyeballs.
Right.
And we go with the angle of, this is Robin Leffler. She was in Darmok. She's played by Ashley Judd. She's great.
Yeah, she's great. She's cute.
And you decide to go with Data as being the hard point that this game can't take over, instead of Geordi, who has the engineering capability and can't see. And this is like one of the cases where not being able to see is actually an asset.
Right. And this kind of reliance on Data seems to be kind of low-key suggesting, instead of diversity, which is what, when you look at the cast and everyone doing things, you think, oh, okay, cool. Like a diverse cast, a diverse crew helps us. It lets us kind of do many different things. You're essentially saying like, oh no, all you need is an android. Just androids as far as Starfleet can see, and that'll mitigate any sort of threat.
It goes from implicit, this diversity gives us the ability to deal with unusual threats, to the Ubersmensch will save us, and sometimes we're going to have a special episode about how diversity is important in some kind of contrived scenario.
Right. And that's the thing. When you go out of your way to say, oh, by the way, diversity is important, you guys, instead of having it baked in, then it doesn't really feel like you believe that anymore.
Correct. So let's talk about this train wreck.
Yeah, this is kind of wild. Like, she has a lot of lines about chocolate.
I think that one of us wished on a monkey paw that they would characterize for a little more. I don't know if it was you or me, but we got that monkey paw wish. People are split on this scene as to whether it's good to focus on something so character-based, even if it's ephemeral and stereotypical about women.
Yeah. That was my first kind of frustrating part about this, is that it was like decidedly like Riker's in to this conversation is like, oh, are you depressed? Because that's a lot of chocolate. Her. Like, okay, dummy. Like, everyone loves chocolate, you idiot. You moron.
So she has this entire thing, this entire system of eating chocolate.
But that's common. It's common for people. I mean, for people who have a favorite dessert, it is common to have a particular way of eating it. Like, look at the Oreo.
Derek. How does he not know this?
Yeah, I know. That is the weird thing, too. He's like...
Did you not tell your Zadi about chocolate? Is this a new thing?
Yeah. No, and you know me, I've been critical about the Mzadi thing from like day one. Also, that smile is kind of wild.
It's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, she's in the throes of chocolate passion, so I'll give her a pass, but...
Maybe so.
Look, it's Crusher. Hey, everybody, it's Crusher.
Wesley's back.
What's that webcomic that focuses just on Chief O'Brien?
Chief O'Brien at work.
Yes. So the way the person draws Chief O'Brien it isn't It isn't flattering.
No.
But this shot, like right here, where he's turning like this, it captures that style almost perfectly. Like they were trying. I'm like, this is it. Like right there, that smile. You saw that smile? Like, oh man. Like it was just like, okay, yeah, no, this is like, look how just there's nothing here. No bathroom break, no coffee mug, like no picture like saying, hang in there, man. None of that. And this is where he spends like presumably 24 hours a day.
Presumably. Hey, he has a baby now. I'm sure Keiko brings the baby by.
Where is she? Where's the baby? He doesn't get to leave the transport. Does he transport her in and out? Like, maybe. There's a kind of cute bit. This is nice. Like, hey, everyone. Like, I've never had a surprise party. When I was a kid, I always wanted one because I always wanted, I guess, to believe that people were like cared about me enough to do that sort of thing. But maybe I was projecting a little bit too much. But this is nice. It's like a nice moment. We're all excited to see our friend. We all did a little special thing. I like this bit where he asks about, did it make it uncomfortable? It's like, oh man, yeah, I thought I was on the wrong ship. And then he tries to do that laughter, and it says contrived laughter. Oh yeah,
the Netflix subtitle, that's great.
Yeah. I love how Data's like, oh, we're supposed to laugh. I was like, that's good.
At least he knows when.
You're the best.
Yeah. And the important thing to note here is that Will Riker's acting completely normally at this point.
Well, yeah, which is him being a dick, asking for someone to do work on their vacation. Like, come on, man.
That's how Starfleet is.
I know.
And he does have the option to not.
That's very, but it's kind of like, hey, listen, I'm kind of your mentor, or like, you like being around us, like we're all your... smile.
Like they pass a guy in the hall, and Wesley looks up and he recognizes the guy, and he smiles. So great, so brief.
Yeah.
Does so much work for us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, he's definitely come into his own as far as, like, being an actor, for sure.
Yeah. But it's good, and we talk about Wesley at the academy and how Data learned to dance, and these are all just kind of characters who've developed while they've been apart from each other, and now they're at the same place again. They're catching up.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see like how Data, like even in one dialogue, how Data's like, yeah, I don't understand emotions, but that was a notably awkward experience. Like, how do you know it was awkward, Data? How do you? I mean, awkward's something you feel. How'd you know?
I can imagine that Data went to the academy with Funnybot, and Funnybot quit awkward, and they're like rivals.
Yeah.
Like, he has like mastered the one feeling that I cannot.
He walks up and goes, like, Crushinator, would you go to the dance with me? It's Sadie Hawkins, Data. I'm supposed to ask you.
Funnybot goes, awkward. All right, so... It's a great bit where we began our obligatory heterosexual romance, which is not excruciating, thankfully.
Yeah. See, and, I called her cute, but I didn't really describe her at the right point of cute, because these two are nerds, right? And they do this nerd thing where they're into stuff, and it's just adorable. Like, they just... Like, she's about to say, like, hey, your neutrinos are drifting, and give him, like, this goofy smile. I'm like, aw, you guys, they like each other. They're both nerds that like each other.
I like that she says, hey, you gotta do it manually. And then she hits 3 buttons. She's like, yep, here's the macro that does it manually. And I'm like, you guys are really deep in this, aren't you?
Today I learned that macros are manual.
Yeah, I mean, if you gotta hit Alt to do the macro, I mean, look, Shift macro, fine. Normal operating business. Alt Shift macro, oh man, that's like next level stuff.
That's totally manual. Yeah, that's
3
totally
fingers
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that was just kind of clever. He's like, oh, she knows stuff, and she's pretty, and he's looking at her, and so it's cute. That they definitely have chemistry, so that sells it, and it's not like it's not some gross thing that would generally be Riker would be at the center of.
Yeah. And it's...
I like this. He's like, all right, cool, a coin. I'll have a coin.
Yeah. And, we see a little bit in the previous scene how Wesley's like, it used to work this way, but it doesn't anymore. And she's like, oh, I've just been here, so I know how to do it. And then in the background, we've got all these science teams here that are like driving, little conflicts that also serve the distribution plot.
Yeah.
This is how they're going to distribute the game throughout the rest of the Starfleet.
Yeah. This is why you don't tell people like your weakness, right? Because someone else tells someone else, and then bam, you get low-jacked.
So, an earlier version of this, Brent Spiner actually cut his chin open and had to go to the hospital in full data.
Oh, because that part of the table, like it is.
I guess he missed it. So,
that sucks.
So he went to the hospital and he got he had to come back and they put a little like patch on his chin and put the makeup over it, and then he had to do it again.
Damn.
they didn't get the
face your fear.
Yeah.
He's like, I get you're hurting, but we need the shot.
Yeah. Yeah, how stupid is the plot that obviously they know that they can hack the Enterprise via Riker's dick. And
right. I love that was the point of entry. It's like the key to all of Enterprise, the key to all of Starfleet is the Enterprise, and the key to the Enterprise, Riker's penis.
And they're like, okay, well, famously, there's a robot on the Enterprise, right? I mean,
right.
It would be incredibly lucky if the one guy that we can use as an access point also knew the off button for this robot. But,
right.
I mean, what if he's just like a synthetic organism and we can also adapt the game to work on him? And they're like, all right, that sounds fair. And then, like, what the vector they don't see is Geordi. And so once Riker and Crusher are infected, like, oh crap, we gotta, it's Geordi. Geordi, we gotta do like maintenance on your visor. And then like they just stun him and like put him in stasis. And it's like, he had an attack of Tarkalian flu. He was going to die in 24 hours. We need to get him to a starbase.
Yeah.
Once this mission's over.
Or you could just like straight up like be the bully that takes away the glasses and be like, haha, you can't have them anymore. And then either Wesley, because he's friends with Geordi, has to like recombinate some glass solution that will work in a pinch, or find them and get them to Geordi. While resuscitating him to like save, like to have the same resolution in the episode as we do. Yeah.
And I think we maybe would have missed a scene or two, but whatever.
I mean, AF. Oh, as fuck. I was high as fuck. That's why I carved. That's why I carved those initials.
Great bet.
Anyway.
So no, I do like the fake out of Boothby didn't remember you, and then it turns out he did, and it's like, I have so many warm memories of the groundskeeper.
Yeah,
which is good because like it shows that there's some value in this blue collar work that most people wouldn't think of.
Well, and we're hitting a lot of like past beats, right? Like this is a conversation they had previously. We as you mentioned in Dharma, we saw like Ashley Judd before. We're calling back to Data like having a weakness. So there's a lot of like low key continuity. Crutcher's a bad mom. Tries to get her son addicted.
Yeah. And I'm glad that this episode has so many human beats in it and manages to efficiently put stuff into this episode.
Yeah. And now we're kind of like solidly in the kind of plot here. The thing that kind of made this the most odd for me is that this is somewhat future seeing in that it describes more of the infinite scroll of social media than it does about video games, because our minds process novelty. You want to keep scrolling more because you want to get that new thing. And every time you get the new thing, it's like a hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
And then these people use this game as kind of a way of using dopamine to reprogram the crew of Starfleet. And then we also have a 2016 election that was using memes and infinite scrolling to sort of hijack an election. And there's some weird prescience here. It's somewhat disturbing.
I hadn't caught that, but I think you are onto something with the, minor novelty and pleasure used to Trojan horse in ideas, which obviously this takes to the science fiction extreme. A tiny Lotus Eater machine mixed with sinister instructions from a foreign power. But
so these laws, these personal laws, I seem to remember another person when I was growing up that had laws.
Not inspired by this at all.
Okay, just curious.
Just, I mean, the notion that you can make these rules for yourself. And,
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've encountered a lot of people, I'm sure, who have a set of, let's just say, unindexed principles that never have to be reconciled.
Yeah. And it's nicer when they're indexed.
Indeed, yeah. Hashtag Dovin Band fan. So,
and so this is interesting, you know, because we kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of how, like, teenagers and maybe even young adults interact with each other via Starfleet. You know what I mean? Like, somehow, like, she knows about him because she has friends at Starfleet, but she works on the Enterprise, right?
Yeah. And
look at this lip bite. Oh, he wants it so bad. He's like, "Hey, coffee."
She's an ensign who was just in the academy like a few years ago, right? Maybe last year. She may have graduated last year.
Yeah.
So then, you know, she may have heard a little bit about that through Scuttlebutt. She may still have friends at the academy that she speaks with. I mean, I wasn't that gregarious when I was at the academy, but you know, other people are. They keep those connections around,
right?
And you can continue talking about Wesley Crusher. So
it
is good. It creates this sense of community in a larger world that's interconnected.
Right. That here we're about to see. Oh man, they really kind of milked all these graphics. That face when your mom's orgasming on the couch.
I want to say you have not begun to see Gates McFadden orgasm on camera as Dr. Crusher.
Okay. All right.
This is fair. Nothing, sir. This is a
pseudo-orgasm. Pseudo-orgasming, then.
Before this series is we are going to go to the goddamn rainforest. So, trust me.
All right. That's fair. It's kind of weird, though, that Wesley didn't realize that his mom, what was going on with his mom, or he did realize it and it was completely normal. Like, he just walked in like, oh, cool, mom's like getting her groove on the couch. I'll just let her know what I'm up to and bounce.
It's one of those Barry White audiobooks. So anyway, the thing is, she pushes so hard on this.
Well, and this is so weird, right? She's like, oh, you know, Wes is like, oh man, yeah, Robin Leffler, we're gonna go on a date. And he's like, well, you know what you could do? Why don't you invite her here? We'll all orgasm together.
Ostensibly, all of these people are in full control of their faculties, except they've been subverted by the game. So I don't know if Dr. Crusher's incompetent here, or if she's like, wait, what if I play to my maternal instincts and my subliminal programming to push Wesley so hard that, like, I play on his hatred of me being a parent, and that's like a Trojan horse message.
This is kind of like pseudo-addiction acting as well. Like, addicts are sick. Like, not sick in, like, the perverse sense, but sick in, like, the very real mental sense. Like, there's a thing that they have to deal with, and it's hard. And so that sickness doesn't let you kind of process things normally. And so I think that's why we see Gates McFadden, who was, like, Dr. Crusher, who was, you know, she's like, oh yeah, this was for you, but I was totally using it. My bad. Here you go. You should use it. Is like clumsily, awkwardly pushing this game on her is because she's addicted to it.
But everyone else has spread it with a certain kind of, you know, calm introduction.
Yeah,
even whenever,
I see what you mean. Okay.
Geordi kind of waved off Riker the first time. He comes around like Riker has to try again. But Riker's pretty cool about it. And Crusher has no chill in this scene. And not only that, but she manages to ensure that Wesley isn't.
Well, I mean, the easiest way to make sure your kids don't do a thing is say, hey, yeah, I think it's cool. You should have someone else do this too. Like, yeah, Mom, well, I'm not playing that game anymore.
And your Facebook analogy really comes full circle with that. Like, once your parents are into it, you don't want a part of it.
Yeah. And I thought, when watching this, I legitimately thought that was, like, basically how Wesley got inoculated. Like, even if they put this thing on his head, he's like, yeah, but this is I don't want to play it. Mom plays it. You know what I mean? Like, I really thought that's how it was going to work out.
He's in it, and then, like, a little message pops up where it's like, your mom has invited you to, like, Farmville. And you're like, I'm done. And they're like, okay, just phaser him. He's like, that's fine.
Your mom would like to gift you 20 gold coins to help you, like, get past the first 3 levels.
The first blue tubas. Yeah.
The first blue tubas. And so this is
But
another
again,
thing that totally... I was just saying, this is the other thing, like, they're so adorable together, is they're both nerds, right? And so they're like, you know what we should do? We should just, like, solve this problem, like, sleuth style.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And they totally can do it, and it's good.
Yeah, they, first date ideas, unravel a plot to hijack all of Starfleet.
Right. I mean, if you have that ability. Also, low-key, like, abusing his mom's power, or not abusing the power, but abusing the lab equipment. Maybe you requisitioned it. Who knows?
This is sickbay with a bunch of extra walls put into it. And I had always assumed this was sickbay, but this is like engineering study room or something like that. With
okay. Interesting.
Some panels and things.
So we get some not bad, like, brain graphics. Oh, they're just so goofy. Oh, man. They're just so goofy together. It's cute.
Usually we see senior members of Starfleet solving a puzzle like this.
Right.
And here we get a bunch of, like, junior officers doing it.
Yeah. And so this is where the other foot drops. They realized that you have a runaway serotonin. He says something about, like, a serotonin runaway something. I don't know what they called it. And then he talks about... It's not that's not how psychotropics work, Wesley. But anyway,
look, he's just cribbing from what he's heard from his mom.
Yeah. But he's saying, okay, look, it's interesting that it's runaway serotonin plus the higher reasoning also gets engaged. And so if you were to read a little bit into that, you could definitely see how they're getting brainwashed, through this positive reinforcement. Do you like Starfleet? No. Do you like the... I don't know what they're called. Kalarians, something.
Katarians.
Kantarians. Do you like Kantarians? Yes. Here's positive. Here's pleasure, and back and forth until you're doing all the cool things that Katarians want you to do.
I do want to mention that another conceit of this episode, which is stupid, is that everything that is out of frame is invisible. Okay, the woman who snuck up on Riker, she wasn't hidden behind anything. Like when she sneaks up on him, they're doing hide and seek. She was just out of frame. And Picard's game. Yeah. It's there. It's still behind him.
Yeah.
It's on that desk.
Yeah.
Wesley, look to the right. Look to the right, Wesley.
It's right there, Wesley. He didn't even put it behind, like, in his secret captain's quarters. It's right on the desk.
Switch to letterbox, Wesley. You'll see it. Switch to letterbox. Go 16:9. It'll be visible.
Poor Wesley. I mean, he just likes Captain Picard so much. But yeah, that is, I didn't notice that, but yeah, that is pretty goofy for sure.
Yeah. It was like, out of frame, out of mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So, it's not a bad episode, though. It's got a lot of good
things it's not forward. Bad. I totally didn't get it at first, but if I watched it a second or third time, I definitely would have gotten it for sure.
Yeah. So, but
it is kind of funny now. This whole reaction is kind of funny now that I know that, because Picard's like, yeah, it's interesting. We should investigate right after I play my game.
He's like, oh, thank God, Papa Picard's going to solve it. He's like, Papa who? Oh, I mean, no, everything's normal. Everything's normal. It's fine.
Yeah, and then, like, his smile goes away. It's like, now a little serotonin. Yeah, just right off. That's so funny. I did not catch that before. That's funny.
Oh, man, put it under your desk, something.
Yeah, dude, just don't leave the fleshlight out, man. Like, you have to have some discretion.
A little bit of shame serves a vital function.
It does. And that's the kind of thing, too. We see this escalating. Now everyone's playing it. First it was like Riker was like the attack vector. And then it was just like, there's some people into it, some people aren't. It's going to be fine. Now we're full on epidemic mode. Everyone is just orgasming in public. And so much so that both Wesley and what's her face, Robin?
Yeah, Robin.
Robin have to come up with excuses for why they're not actively doing it in public.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, I'm sure that there's another metaphor in there. I mean, I tell people I don't have a Facebook. I have famously, someone has been like, hey, I didn't know you had a Facebook. And I'm like, I don't have a Facebook on Facebook. And because I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I was in it. Now I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to be a hipster about Facebook.
Yeah.
It becomes ubiquitous, and there's like a social pressure to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. And so after an interview,
there's one guy that would be immune to this. Jordy. It would be Jordy, the guy you work for.
Yeah,
You don't have eyes.
I would love it if that happened, where Robin's like, like Wesley's like, there would be one guy who's immune to it though, and Robin's like, yeah, Geordi. No, the second guy, Data.
And Wesley's like, don't be racist, Robin. God. Data gets sick.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. So we've seen Riker takes Data's head off and like hook him up to a computer, and now we're looking at Crusher just like casually and without consent, like just like popping over Data's brain hatch and like doing whatever he's going to do to fix him. And it's weird that everyone knows how Data's mind works. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if someone knew exactly how to get you to do whatever they wanted. Like, it just seems odd.
Geordi and Dr. Crusher I buy because they're both part of his maintenance cycle.
Yeah, and that's fine. But Wesley?
I accept that Wesley knows engineering things.
Yeah, that's fair.
These
positronic circuits look just like string put over a circuit board.
Look, man, how else are the Iowans going to know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
If the robot man doesn't have wires to cut, okay?
Yeah. I like how she was I love how he was like so chill in suggesting like, yeah, my mom's in on this. He's like he's grown up to the point where he knows that he can't trust his mother.
What if there are messages in the video games, Robin? Political messages. Like, bad people are bad.
Everyone has done it. It's because they needed Data.
Was all that Wolfenstein?
Yeah.
Is that really just telling me to shut down Nazi discourse? So this is like kind of a whole bridge crew that's been effectively rewritten. Like I don't know. I've never seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but they're not all drugged out. They've just essentially become to the point where the game has done what it's supposed to do for these folks, and it's basically incapacitated the rest of the crew via just constant pleasure. Yeah, I mean, I think they can still do the functions they need to do. It's just added in the additional like social subroutine to get them to...
my baby's having low-key Demolition Man sex in his room.
I thought you'd switch it up and go with the Coneheads one.
Oh yeah, Coneheads one's good too.
Yeah. So yeah, and like their goals have been subverted, but their actual abilities haven't.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, pod people.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to show as well... Like, there's kind of this duality to addiction. There's the part where you're engaging in the thing that you're addicted to, and there's the kind of cover-up where you have to kind of put on this face of being able to do a thing so no one realizes you're addicted.
Yeah.
I don't think that they were going for that, but it kind of reads that way a little bit.
Yeah. This is another ship we've seen like a half dozen times before, but flipped upside down again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So, yeah, so they got like 2 or 3 of them little ship models. They just kind of keep flipping them over. And this is the same lady.
Is it the same? Okay. Either that or their whole race looks exactly the same. One of the two.
Oh.
We never got her name, right?
I don't know if we got her name or not. I think we did, but, who cares? She's in like 3 scenes. And...
Yeah.
We don't know if this is like a move by the Qatarian government or like the Qatarian Riflemen's Association, or if it's just like something she cooked up in her basement and she's like, yeah, I'm going to take over all Starfleet. And then Kathy on Facebook can't say anything to anymore. Oh God, I'm in the game. So we don't really know, but it's almost successful. I mean, there's freaking Geordi right there for no reason.
That's Geordi right there. I'd like it if like Geordi was he was not affected by the game because we never see him like get kind of hijacked, right? And
we don't.
And so like right after Wesley like solves it for everyone, like when Data comes in, he's like, "Oh man, I was about to make my move." Like he totally was gonna do it. He was just too slow.
Yeah, like there's a moment where Riker like puts it on Geordi, and he's like, "Yeah, so you're part of the plot now, right? And Geordi was like, yeah, that totally worked. And there is like a group of like aliens with no eyes who are just members of the crew that we just don't ever see.
Well, yeah, like the scientists that were there for all their studies, there's just like a group of them with no eyes.
Yeah, and like Reg Barkley, like he gets nauseous when he wears it. And like there's actually a cetacean navigation system in this ship. Apparently there's whales in this ship that help them navigate. And it's like weird. Geordi gets all of them together and he's like, all right, guys, when I say Alpha Vermilion Black, you guys bust onto the bridge and stop everyone.
Geordi's only true friends are the cetaceans.
It's like the B team of dudes.
Yeah.
So
this is kind of sad where like he realizes like his girlfriend got hijacked, which is unfortunate. But he goes full on like rebel spy sort of mode, and he gives them a really good chase.
Yeah, like the difference between being fit in the academy and being fit in the fleet is real. Like, look, you gotta work out on your own, guys. I mean, look at this. Yeah. You got a head start.
Yeah, look how slow they're running.
It's just the worst. So he was on the ship when Roga Dinar was ripping stuff up. So I think he may have picked up a few pointers.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty slick, right? Side-to-side transport. He just like low-key did that, no problem, because he programmed Crusher 1. Also,
Robin shouldn't be a zombie. She'd be like, oh yeah, Wesley, we totally got that. And like she'd walk up and hit some buttons and grab his wrist. But no, she just turns into a zombie for no reason.
Well, I mean, I kind of assumed that the way they eventually get Wesley is how they got her, like just through force.
Yeah.
Which is kind of uncomfortable, but happened.
So yeah, I like that we get a tiny reaction shot of Dr. Crusher in there, where she's like, oh no, where did I put my coffee? or it could have been maternal. It could have been maternal too.
No, it wasn't.
I mean,
coffee's important to doctors. This is also pretty clever, so he's in a kind of cat and mouse game, and so he knows that he can play with the sensors to make people think that he's in one place when he isn't.
Yeah. And it's one of those tiny little hand phasers from season 1 with a base that lets it sit upright, because that's
yeah. I mean, you gotta
feel like an iPhone stand for his phaser. There's like a little clip on it, the case. But he literally grew up on this ship, you guys.
Right? Yeah. So, no, I mean, it's the Enterprise raised him. Don't think that Crusher raised him.
Yeah. So
I mean, he probably played this like very real hide and seek game with like other people, and just they don't know about it because it's kids that grew up in Starfleet.
Yeah. I mean, it's something we kind of have to put into the episode. I don't think it's necessary for them to explicitly say it.
Yeah, I don't think they have to now.
So, seriously, he was here for what, 4 years?
Yeah.
About the same as
I like how he just like low key gives Worf like a run for his money on like security. It's like, damn, how does this kid subvert all my protocols?
Because he knows them all. It's like, he mixed up all my macros. I don't know if it's Control A or Control Z. We're in the Jeffries tubes again.
Yeah. And so this was kind of interesting too, that he knows enough to kind of go to these different tubes. I don't know. I guess you can't site-to-site transport. He could have run the same program here, I would think, to get away, but he doesn't. So I don't. I think it would have been funny if he just kind of like popped Worf in the nose, and he's like, ah.
I mean, I think that would have been preferable. I also noticed that Riker gets the catch here.
Yeah, and like just the eyes. Like he doesn't even try to grab him. He's just like, I got you, son.
Yeah. So,
but he doesn't quit fighting.
Yeah. It's a good bit, and it's a good action quotient, and there's real stakes.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a good comeback episode for Wesley.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. And I liked how we have like some real stakes, but we also have like some kind of indications on how life is in like both Starfleet and on the ship. And it's good.
Yeah.
I kind of thought he should have bit Worf here. But, I get it. We have to keep moving, so.
I can see him biting Worf, and then Worf flying backwards. Like, got him again.
He did it on instinct. It's fine.
Worf was like, they're going to call a penalty on one of these.
And so here we get kind of that same ominous shot, right, that we went into the intro with, where the cones. It's about the cones.
Yeah, and the cones eventually, like, even if he doesn't cooperate, they'll like
make it easy.
Yeah, just so they
and there it is.
Get him.
That first time you orgasmed in front of people.
Yeah,
your mom's coaching you on it. Just relax, let it happen.
Yeah, so they got Data. They turned Data back on off screen so that he could save the day. Like,
right.
It should have been Geordi.
Yeah. Well, also it's kind of weird how easy it was. This is like Get Out as well. Like, brain programming can be subverted by flashing lights. Like, can it? I don't know.
I just feel like Geordi should have no-sold that, where he's like, right, again, none of this plot makes sense to me, Geordi.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't see any of those flashes because I don't experience light the way you guys do. It's a different scanning thing, so maybe that didn't work for me.
He gets his own palm beacon and responds in Morse code. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah. And so this is where she gets like super mad. Like she's hailing her. It's like, I'm gonna fire at things. And if you don't let me go, I'm gonna get so mad. And then Riker's like, hey, should we be worried about our weapons? Worf's like, nope. I'm like, all right, cool. So we do get this sense that either this person or her government wanted to hijack the Enterprise because their weapon systems were inferior.
Yeah. So it's one vector of control.
Right.
I do like the Enterprise Star Trek doesn't talk a lot about different technologies. This is a Lotus Eater machine to some extent.
Yeah.
And like Star Trek doesn't really talk about that.
Lotus Eater? I'm not familiar with that.
It's from the Odyssey. But,
okay.
Basically, it's a machine that just makes you happy. And you plug into it and it makes you happy.
Well,
and that's like a legit tech.
Well, I mean, this is like also, I'm sure, intelligence agencies were doing this probably around the same times hackers were doing it, but only when it became, did email and social media become so ubiquitous and hacking, via, transitive property become ubiquitous, that people start to realize like, oh, look, you have to be worried about not just what people are doing, but why. So Riker, who is the XO of the Enterprise, is the flagship, right?
Right.
So Riker, who's XO of a flagship, he should have gotten trained on some level of like, hey, be wary, the Romans when they bring gifts, or like, hey, if someone just comes out and it feels like it's too good to be true, you might want to do some background checks, like that kind of stuff.
I mean, generally this is a low security, everything's okay type of universe.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. And the interesting thing is that once you put everything in the Star Trek universe together,
right,
the only logical action is to be like the SNL YOLO video where everyone's like paranoid and insane and staying in their house and drinking their own pee. Because it's dangerous. It's dangerous out there. And it's very hard for media to reflect, be reasonably vigilant without, and to put that in some kind of context, because that's a complicated idea.
Well, I mean, the vigilance too is kind of predicated on this notion that you can't trust anyone, but it does take a community. And that's what I think we still don't get as a society, is that you should have people. You should have people that you rely on and others rely on you. But to do that, you have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. And that's the thing that sucks. Individualistic person. Look at that goofy laugh. Oh, man. It's so adorable. Anyway, but yeah, you have to be vulnerable in order to kind of get a shot at that community that'll watch your back and you watch theirs.
Yeah, it has to be a give and take, and people have a hard time giving.
Right.
So I also want to mention that Robin Leffler is in the Excalibur novels, which are a pretty good novel series.
Okay.
But we do not see her again in the Alpha canon, because she's pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of expected. I was kind of hoping the next time we saw Wesley, we didn't have to be a Wesley Robin episode again, but could have just have like a nod, like, "Hey Robin, what's up?" like phone call or something.
Yeah, something like that, some kind of callback. So that is it for the game.
So we lost. Is that right? I always forget how the game works.
I come out of it feeling a lot better than I did going in.
Yeah. So I feel like, barring some of the things that I think this is a fine episode. Like, it's okay. Fine maybe is the wrong word. Like, it's meh. Like, it's just kind of like it isn't bad, but it isn't good sort of episode. It definitely feels, if I put on my 90s kid hat, it feels pandering. It's like, oh no, the adults are afraid of video games. Well, maybe not pandering is not the wrong word. Like, what's the I'm pandering, but I'm also being scared. I'm trying to use scare tactics.
Panic inducing?
Yeah, I guess.
Panic?
Like, just kind of like, oh, I'm so scared when I really shouldn't be. But anyway, it's whatever that is. I'm not good with words. And so there's some bits here that are really good. Like, I love the chemistry between Wesley and Robin. There were some funny bits, but they were funny just because I'm watching it in 2019 instead of, I guess, when it was aired. I don't know if it still would have been funny.
I thought that with the hesitance of it and the social pressure angle and the let's learn more about it angle, I thought it was a drug message, because nothing that Wesley does is applicable to video game addiction, which wasn't a real thing.
Yeah.
So, but like it fails on both of those counts, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we have that one where they're Nancy Drewing it up and they realize, like, oh man, serotonin plus reasoning, like, that's what's happening. And yes, that's an explanation, but we don't really get into kind of, how is that a drug? Like, why does everyone look like they're all like zombies? And sometimes, but then only certain people are still competent. Like, we don't really talk about that.
So, but it kind of makes the plot go.
Yeah.
Oh, Chinese Cookie Factory. That's what I was looking for. Not Trojan Horse. When I was talking about Dr. Crusher.
Okay.
You open up like a cookie and like there's a fortune cookie inside of it and it says, "Please help me. I'm trapped in a Chinese cookie factory."
Oh, yeah.
It's like a message inside of encoded within it. And that's what I was thinking about when I was talking about Crusher being overly maternal and overplaying her hand with Wesley.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, next week we are watching Unification, Part 1.
All right. So, gonna be a two-part, it looks like. We have a card from Netflix. Picard is concerned. This is going to deal with Vulcans because he's doing the Vulcan hand thing. Old, I presume Vulcan because of the haircut. Vulcan dude, like, laying down, like, I'm so cold. So maybe he's on the verge of death, or maybe super sick. I don't really know. And this is what we get via summary from Netflix. Captain Picard and Data, of course, follow Spock into Romulan space on a dangerous mission. That doesn't look like Spock at all.
It's not Spock.
Okay, interesting. Maybe it's a Romulan. Okay, well, yeah.
Could be anyone.
That'll be interesting.
We are going to see next week.
Right.
And until then,
remember Rand.
I'll make this short because no one likes credits. Star Trek is property of CBS Television Studios and Paramount Pictures. We are watching Star Trek on Netflix. We are talking over Discord. And we are recording and editing on Audacity. The Beige and the Bold is hosted on Anchor and can be found on most podcasting platforms. I would also like to thank our senior officer Patreons for supporting The Beige and the Bold. They also make video editions of this podcast and remasters of old episodes possible. So thank you to Tracker by Moonlight and Miss Jess. If you have any questions or concerns about the show, please contact me at vanvelding@gmail.com or on Twitter @vanvelding. Thank you, and remember Rand.